What would Charles Dickens have done if he had to deal with technology?
That's a great question.
I can't answer.
All right, we're live.
What kind of technology was around when? Oh, we're live now. Okay, well, we'll get to that later then, I guess. Steve, you're still with us. You gonna hang out with us, buddy? Anyway, welcome to.
You're live.
Are we live, Steve?
You're live.
Is this on? Hello? Testing.
Well, if anybody can see us.
No, we're no longer live. Hello? Ground control to Major Tom.
All right, so a much less formal conversation that we're going to have.
Can it be less
Let's
formal
talk,
than that
Lauri and
was?
John, about this show, because you are doing it at Chester Theater next weekend, and it's a show that you both have not written but adapted from Christmas Carol, written by the late great Charles Dickens.
That is correct.
Now your play is called Ebenezer, a Shadow Carol. How'd you come across that title?
It took a while, actually. We went back and forth with many different titles, ways to describe what we were doing. Just everything from something completely unrecognizable to where we are now, which what we were trying to do is say, this is a story but told in a different way, told from a different perspective, a retelling of something familiar, because we wanted people to know that there's a little bit of, they can identify it, but they may not know exactly what to expect.
Right. So yeah, let's be careful tonight, because I do want to kind of get in depth and hear as much as you guys are willing to share, but I don't want to put out any spoilers, as I'm assuming you guys don't either. So if I ask a question where you're like, I can't answer that, you just wave me along and we'll get on to the next one. But so without giving anything away, tell me a little bit more about what you just said. You said it's told from a different perspective, or is that what you said? You said it from a different perspective.
Well,
yeah, go ahead, John.
45 seconds.
Go ahead, John.
On the title, and this will tie back to that. I was fairly insistent that we throw Ebenezer in there at some point, because I don't know any other shows or any other stories that have a character named Ebenezer, and that's kind of a identifier. And I figured we could kind of go with whatever else around it. The Shadow Carol, as opposed to Christmas Carol, is kind of related to one of the things we've done is put a little more focus on smaller characters, or brought out smaller characters that are kind of in the shadows of the main story earlier on, and brought them a little more prominently and filled in some of what they do. So Ebenezer's on a similar journey that he's on in the familiar stories, but he has some different experiences along the way, and some that emerge from the shadows, I think.
Very cool. Very cool. So I'm assuming that in preparation for making this adaptation, you guys did do a lot of research into the original piece. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yes, we're both tedious researchers. We're both annoyingly researchy. Yeah.
And we've also both been huge fans of this story our entire lives. So, John and I have been talking about how much we love this story for years, and that we were never, everybody loves A Muppet's Christmas Carol, but there was never, including us, but there was never a story that we came across, or a version that we came across that told it from the perspective that we kind of agreed we'd like to see sometime. So that's why we just decided to do it ourselves.
I gotcha. So really the idea to work on this project was kind of an organic thing that just kind of came out of your friendship.
Yeah.
It wasn't. I was curious about that, because I'm always curious about, one of the things I love about theater is artists that are willing to collaborate with other artists. So when I see two people come together to write a play together, I was wondering, I was like, okay, so did Lauri and John get together and say, we got to work on a project together? Or did all of a sudden, like, you just like at a party one night being like, oh my God, you love the Christmas Carol and want to see it differently? So do I. Like, let's get, like, how did it get started?
I feel like it's more the second one, but Lauri, how do you remember?
Or the second one?
No, I think it is more the second one. Just in conversation, you know, we talked about the versions that we had seen and what we didn't like about those and what we liked about the ones that we had seen. And it just, I think at one point, John just said something like, you know, I really want to tell my own version of it. And I was like, yeah, I kind of wanted to. And I think we both actually had worked on versions of our own separately. I know I had years ago written an adaptation.
Oh, that's cool.
And I think, John, you did too, or you were.
I had started, with Glenn. Glenn and I had started kind of poking around with it a little bit, different takes on it, just preliminary stuff, but it got me kind of pumped up.
I'm sorry, Chris, you're being asked to lean into the mic so people can hear you a little bit better.
Sure, no problem.
Are you? And we have some questions here. Roseanne says, what inspired you to write this version? You just talked about that. And have you two collaborated before on writing a piece together?
No, we have not.
Writing with someone else is hard. So if you can if you can do it on your own, many writers are more inclined to just do it on their own.
It's true. I mean, I think, John, tell me if I'm wrong. I mean, the pandemic helped because we were just, nobody was really doing anything. We thought, well, why not just do this now? And we talked more, constantly through texts and emails. And I think we even chatted once a week together on Zoom. And initially, I think we split the story up. Right? Is that right?
We did. Yeah. It's very much like, this is Lauri scene. This is I'll do this part. I'll do this ghost. You do that ghost. And then, then we threw it all together and you start, the lines blurred a lot as we started working through things together. But initially that was pretty productive, actually, cranking out. So it'll be interesting for our friends to see. I'd be interested to talk to them afterwards and ask them which they think are Lauri's bits and which are my bits.
Nice. Now when did you start? When did you start like getting a group of readers together and trying to hear the words?
When was that first reading? It was on Zoom.
Yeah, June, May.
Oh, I thought, I might have been April or May.
April. But we only started this. When did we start doing this? January?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, it went pretty fast.
But as you both said, it's something that was certainly familiar to you and you had been working on in other, types of ways prior to that.
The framework is there already.
Yeah. Fascinating. Now, did you rely on the readings? Not rely on them, but did they kind of help you with your craft?
We learned a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really, I mean, I think any playwright will say, once you hear it read aloud and you're not reading it in your head, it makes a huge difference.
Yeah. It's
invaluable, really. The reason why I think somebody at some point, maybe somebody on the Chester board asked me, why do we need to tell this story again? And we need to tell the story again because the circumstances remain. The poor, they're still poor. There are still children being taken advantage of. Our circumstances haven't changed. And I think what John and I wanted to do by retelling this is because people get conditioned hearing the same story over and over in the same way. And then you just stop listening. Our goal was to get people to start listening again to the story and the themes throughout the story. So that was our goal.
Yeah. It's interesting when I was looking into a little bit on the history of Charles Dickens. What you mentioned about poor and specifically the children, which is obviously a big part of this story. That was a big part of his life. I read a lot about what he did in his own life as far as trying to combat that issue. One of those, that being like a major cultural issue that he was concerned about.
He did. Well, his father was actually sent to debtor's prison. So he was one of those child laborers, I think at age 11 or 12.
The bootblack factory.
Yeah. And he initially he wrote this story. He was thinking it was just going to be a pamphlet to bring attention to the plight of children, the poor children in England and London specifically. But about a week after that, the story just kind of poured out of him. And I think he wrote it in about 6 weeks.
Wow. And he released it like right before Christmas too, wasn't it?
Yeah, December 19th, 1843.
Claudia asks, when you say bits,
No,
you mean it's a comedy?
it's there's a couple of funny bits in it, but no, that's not what I mean at all. It's not. I mean, there's some funny stuff in there, but it's. I'm just talking about which sections and which. I think you might recognize things that Lauri might say or that I might say, but and hopefully not much, but you might. We think we've smoothed most of that over.
Yeah, I think so.
But there are a couple of funny things in there. And something that Lauri said about wanting to, when you're familiar with it, if you just kind of stop listening. One of the things we've tried really hard in this to do is to set up things that you think are going to be familiar and throw a curveball at it. So there are, anytime we threw in surprises wherever we could come up with something that was unexpected or a surprise. There's a couple of places in there where you think you're going down this road and then it takes a left turn. But shake people up, wake them up, get them paying attention again.
Yeah, that's a big part of what we like to do in the theater. Yeah, and certainly when you're trying to get people to reimagine a piece that they know so well. I mean, yeah. I'm sure the majority of us were exposed to this piece. I remember my dad making me watch it, back when I was, way too young to appreciate what the heck it was I was watching, and probably bored by most of it. And yes, there are some funny bits, but it is truly a very intense story. But of course, as you mentioned, the Muppets, of course, Mr. Magoo is popular for doing his version of it.
We're big Mr. Magoo fans.
We are.
Yeah. My favorite is when Scrooge McDuck played, Ebenezer. I thought he did a wonderful job myself. But no, that's the wonderful thing about this piece is there's just so many times, which I think is why you were asked the question, Lauri, okay, why are we telling this story again? But there is something timeless. I mean, how many remakes of Romeo and Juliet have we seen, and there are certain stories that have at their foundation such fundamental human, things that we want to get across that they're worth continually telling.
Especially when the circumstances of the story still continue. You have to, I'm going to make a real weird theater reference here, but if any of you have ever seen the musical Hadestown, that's a very old story. And then they say at the end, we're gonna sing it again. We're gonna just keep singing it until maybe it turns out differently this time. So until we end all these issues of how we look at the poor and how we treat children, this story needs to be told.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, because you think about the story and you think about Ebenezer, and he goes through this journey this one night where he's exposed to all these things, that kind of really make him reevaluate his life. And you wonder if this was a real situation, a real circumstance with an actual person, how often do we as individuals go through this kind of, maybe it doesn't happen all in one night, but how often are we exposed to this stuff and we just ignore it, and we still wake up on Christmas morning and we're still Ebenezer. We're like, screw it, whatever. I can ignore that and continue on, So, and maybe that happens so often that's why stories like this do need to be continually told. Like, no, every once in a while, the dude's going to wake up and be like, oh my God, I get it, So I get it. I totally get why you guys wanted to tell this story again. I'm very excited to be exposed to it. I got to be perfectly honest with you. When it comes to choosing material to do at Chester, I very rarely read the stuff that gets submitted, because it's so much more important to me, the people that want to do it and the passion that they have for the material. So I haven't read your play yet. I will be exposed to it like so many others for the first time this weekend when I sit down in the audience and hear it read, which I'm very excited to do. So tell me a little bit more about that. So we're gonna do this weekend. We've got an awesome cast. Most of us know a lot of the people. I noticed some new names, but I noticed some CCG regulars coming back. Gloria Lamoureux and Jessica Phelan and Steve Nitka, you mentioned earlier.
Oh, yes.
But it's a pretty big list so I'm excited to meet all these new people. So after this weekend, and you may not be able to answer this, but maybe start thinking about it. What's next? Where are you going from here?
Broadway.
I like that.
Or Hollywood. We'll have to see what the reception's like.
So you bought some tickets, huh, John?
Seats are currently available. Yeah.
I have a feeling that we're going to be going back to our laptops and refining some things and making some, it takes a long time to develop a script. And I think we're still in the stages of, oh, wow, like we could go back and look at this again and make it even better. Yeah. So
we've had a couple of rehearsals already, and I've started to make a couple of notes that now that we're seeing it up and people really interacting in person, you start to see a little cleaner things that this would make a little more sense if we did this, and maybe I don't need to say that twice, and this could mean that we could also do this, and maybe we can tie this together. So the idea is keep coming. It's not perfect. It's really good, but it's not perfect yet. So there's definitely room for creativity to happen.
Nice.
But I think the end goal for us would be to have a full stage production.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. Definitely. So, tell me a little bit more about this reading, because we keep saying it's a staged reading, but John, you just alluded to people getting up and moving around. I mean, what are we going to see? We're going to see scripts in hands, obviously, because we're reading this.
Yes.
What else are we going to see?
Well, you're going to see some cool lights. You're going to hear some really cool sound effects. You're going to see 18 really talented actors with scripts in their hands, but with some costume pieces and some light movement around, just to kind of paint some pictures so you can get an idea of different environments. And so it's not just people sitting, reading from a street. I think it's going to be quite entertaining, actually. And there'll be cookies.
Whoa, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, there's going to be cookies and apple cider and wine for the adults.
Mulled wine or just regular old wine?
I
don't know if we have time to mull it, but
mulling takes forever.
One of the things that I love about Chester is our space, and it really does allow us to do a lot of unique stuff. And I would certainly put this right in there with some of the unique stuff that we get to do, because we're in the round. Not saying that we don't do a lot of mainstream, stuff, but we kind of are known for taking a chance, on material that might be a little bit different, that people, might not know, might not have heard of. As a matter of fact, Steve, who's sitting with us is the founder for one of our projects that we call the Black Box Project. And the whole point of that project is to bring shows to light that most of the time never get to see the light of day because for one reason or another, their casts are too small, their playwright's not well known enough, or what have you. They never get to get done. So that is one of the things that I love about Chester, and I'm glad that we're able to support you guys in this. Let me just get it out before I forget and before people start clicking us off. That it is this weekend. Let me get my notes out here. December 11th at 8 p.m.
Saturday at 8
Saturday
p.m.
night. And then Saturday the 12th at 2 p.m.
Sunday.
And that is at
Monday the 12th.
Sunday. Yeah, Sunday the 12th. Did I say that wrong?
Mm.
I did.
Mm-hmm.
Sunday the 12th at 2 p.m. and Saturday the 11th at 8 p.m. at the Black River Playhouse in Chester, New Jersey, presented by the Chester Theater Group. We have a website where you can go get your tickets at www.chestertheatergroup.org, or you can call our box office. But I really recommend the website thing because especially with COVID these days, it's a totally hands-free. You buy your ticket, you get the email confirmation, and you can just walk right into the theater. You don't have to get your wallet out and pay for a ticket and exchange germs and hands and all that kind of good stuff. But if you need to call and make a reservation, the phone number is 908-879-3704, and you can leave your reservation there as well. And it's only $5 to come see this show.
What?
I know. I'm shocked. I am absolutely shocked. I was pushing for a $10 ticket, but I was voted down. We kept it at $5. So you can't get a better ticket to go see a performance. I'm thrilled to see it. I can't wait. So, do you have a favorite Christmas Carol movie? Do you have a favorite?
I really, really, really like Mr. Magoo.
Me too.
Sorry, yeah. There's a lot of good
right.
stuff in a lot of the rest of them.
I think there's a lot. I could pick like different things out of a few different productions.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I like the Christmas Present in the George C. Scott version. I love Michael Caine in the Muppets version, and I love the music in the Mr. Magoo version. I just think it's so great.
Yeah.
So there's just there's like a little bit of something that I love in almost every single production I've seen.
I'll tell you which one. It's, how every once in a while you have these movies where if you're scrolling around on TV and you notice that it's there, you're like, oh, well, now I know what I'm doing for the next 2 hours is watching the rest of this thing. For me, Scrooged with Bill Murray.
Oh, I love that one.
If that's on TV, I'm sitting there and watching it. I have to. I can't turn it off.
Yeah,
Love that one.
I like that one too. That's a good one.
So
All right,
many-
guys. We should probably wrap it up now.
Yes, sir,
Hey, Dad.
Steve. All right. Well, listen, guys, thank you so much for being for chatting with me tonight. I can't wait to see it this weekend. Look forward to seeing you both too. And thank you everybody for coming and joining us. Sorry for the technical difficulties we had there at the beginning, but look forward to seeing you all at the theater this weekend.
Yep. Thank you,
Thank
Claudia,
you, everybody.
for all your support online here too. Thanks, everyone.
See you this weekend.